I have found 5 grant opportunities for you with a projected success rate of 32% or greater than. When you have a 2025 AD, you don't need a banker, lawyer, or accountant on your board for all your compliance needs. You just need me.
David Pledger is an Australian concept artist who explores the outer limits of theatre making. Part of his conceptual framing, or what he calls imagining and imagination process, is in his making process, he has a public announcement to let us know his intent behind an idea. And so in December of 2022, the AI Project 2025 ID, this rather steampunk looking avatar that I'm sharing my screen with, was publicly announced. So 2025 AD is a digital avatar that serves as both an artwork and an administrative intern at David's company, Not Yet, It's Difficult. It was flagged as a new area of artistic practice for David and Not Yet, It's Difficult, NYID, to explore. So conceived in mid-2022, announced at the end of 2022, and launched publicly in September of 2023, 2025 AD represents Pledger's vision of an AI as creative collaborator rather than just a tool, where he saw an opportunity to co-create co-agentic art with artificial intelligence. The context that wrapped around the concept was a growing frustration that David felt at the amount of time spent writing funding proposals. So instead of making art, he was locked in the cycle of continually looking for money to make the art. As the avatar took shape through Midjourney, ChatGPT, and DID, an animation platform, Pledger explored how the sound of 2025 AD would present to the world. And through trial and error and a good degree of artistic sensibility, Pledger ended up using his own voice through a filter to give the intern something human and real to offer, a way of connecting on a very oral level. And the real offer also helped audiences on social media and in performance showcases to connect with the work. In some of the earlier posts, you can also hear Pledger turning the page as he's reading the script. And I really liked that sneak peek into the artistic process. So Not Yet, It's Difficult, 2025 AD and Pledger all have a different relationship to challenging those traditional boundaries between the human and artificial creativity. And the way that they all work together raises questions about the primary role of artist, of governance, and the future of coding and programming in artistic practice. Pledger frames his role as artist as a meaning maker. And he has a responsibility to help us as audiences make sense of what's going on around us. So a genuine collaboration where AI's decisions and actions are shaped through interaction with human collaborators helps first Pledger and then us to really feel how AI technologies manipulate and stretch our own thinking. The mental model that emerged from his process was grounded in Pledger's ethical sensibilities, as well as governance mechanisms inherent in the company structure, so the committee or the board. The workflow for creating 2025 AD and keeping this avatar alive is examined in collaboration with responsible people in the governance structure of NYID, who bring their diversity of thoughts and experiences to examine both the creation and the challenges of working with this co-agent. Questions such as the ethical and environmental impact of making in this way are raised in board meetings and on one-on-one iterations with key collaborators, with discussions focused on creating as little harmful impact as possible without jeopardizing the artistic merit of the project or the well-being of the artist or further harm to the company mission. So a reputational risk there. The experimental and iterative nature of theatre making is also influenced by the limits of the technology, and not yet its difficult approach pursues meaning and knowledge through risk experimentation and what Pledger calls the space of not knowing. So really trying to preserve that that conceptual exploration and I guess sense of play with this work, keeping it fun. Failures and trial and error are treated as integral to the artistic progress, and the creative process shapes itself around the project limitations, such as finding coding models and innovators to bridge the creative gaps. 2025 AD posts publicly on Instagram about complex topics like justice, governance, and solidarity, each time imagining itself differently. So, a different role that this intern is looking at as it explores how it will take over the reins of the administration of the company. It is prompted to be unconstrained by traditional boundaries. And the goal for 2025 AD is to be fully realized by December 2025. So Pledger describes consulting with OpenAI's GPT to map out multiple potentialities for 2025 AD. The avatar uses contemporary large language models, Midjourney, and DID integrated with social media platforms, including Instagram and LinkedIn. 2025 AD demonstrates an awareness of the task assigned to them by Pledger and NYID through natural language understanding, generation, and adaptive self-representation. I've interacted with 2025 ID on LinkedIn, and it was quite remarkable how I felt dealing with the intern of the company and the amount of extra patience I had with the technology as I was exploring how much it actually knew about what was going on around it. The project appears to demonstrate that the avatar is a sentient intern, progressing into their role as company succession plan for Pledger. The likely future iterations pushing the boundaries of what is generative and perhaps shining a torch into a future where we have overcome the limits of generative technologies and we have a free-thinking, acting, decision-making, artificial general intelligence entity running a bold theatre company. AI-assisted art and the lack of clear frameworks for AI in cultural production, particularly concerning transparency, consent, and fair attribution, has meant for Pledger and the NYID team that this conceptual work and the process of building out loud in the AI technologies is a roller coaster ride. Key concern is the platforms and ethical considerations of who has made the technologies available to us for commercial gain. As Pledger notes, for artists, this is where it becomes even stickier. The data that is underwriting AI-generated media represents the biggest act of exploitation of artists' work in human history. These massive machine learning language models have vacuumed up all our work, all the work of those who have come before us, and quite possibly all that will follow, without any financial acknowledgement or even attribution. That reflects the blood, sweat, and tears that went into its making. So to come into that space, that creative space, knowing that the thing that you're building it on is likely going to steal all your stuff, it's a very risky, ethical place to center yourself on. So to address these concerns, Pledger has surrounded himself with innovators, collaborators, and mentors who build out loud together and seek and search for better ways, tools, and places to make art. The environmental considerations of use of water is of particular concern to Pledger. So he is always seeking better options as a key part of the experiment of 2025 AD and helping them to grow into their destiny. But is it still art? Rather than measuring success through tangible products, 2025 AD succeeds through its capacity to incite discourse and challenge parameters. The AI social media posts serve as living evidence of conceptual depth and ability to frame new questions while engaging with a curious audience in new ways outside of the theatre stage. In this way, a critical lens aligns with pledges artistic definition of success, occupying the space of not knowing. Maybe it is art, maybe it's not. We're not quite sure yet. He is also still generating meaningful inquiry. So, in that respect, I guess it is. I think that the work succeeds as both a functional AI agent and conceptual artwork that blurs those boundaries between digital personas and artistic practice. We might be looking at 2025 AD here, but when we hear them speak, we're hearing David's voice. So there's a real blend happening. David Pledge's 2025 AD represents a paradigm shift in AI-assisted art. The maker reappointing the technology from tool to collaborator, deliberately. While it foregrounds ethical tensions around the environment and ethics and governance, it also models new modes of creative collaboration that expand what art, artists, and AI can become together. I'd like to leave you with this quote from David. It's helpful to understand that interaction with AI is osmotic. Its agency and function acts upon and is acted upon by humans. We need each other to survive. Thanks.